Welcome back, Raider Nation and my champions. Yes, we are live once again. This time on a Monday night, we're going to be doing our game review of yesterday's game against the Giants. But not only that, we're going to talk about a few new items that came up. If you've been watching my posts lately, you will understand what we're talking about. Yes, we have signed another deep threat to somehow replace Henry Ruggs, at least in the short term. And we've also released another first round pick for certain reasons. And I will get into that as well. I want to say hello out there into the chat room right now. I'm taking a look. Jeff Garrison put some comments in. I'm not sure if he's still here or he's going to be coming. He'll probably be coming back. Raider Wolf was in here briefly. I think he's still here. Sandy B and Dominique are both in here as well. I appreciate you guys coming out. So got a lot to cover, and I'm going to go right now to that as a matter of fact. So let's get right into this. First thing I want to talk about, obviously, when we do my live streams here, we do what we call the rundown. So we have our topics here that we're going to cover. And as always, once we get done covering these topics, I throw it over to you for a Q&A session because I'm interested in how you feel, what you think about what I presented. In this case, about the signings, the releasings, and obviously the game review. And I also added grades to that so we can talk about that as well. So let's get right into this. So the first thing I want to talk about, I put a poll out right after the game yesterday about Derek Carr. Do you feel he is the face of our future quarterback? Is he the face of this franchise? Is he our answer at the quarterback? And this was the results of the poll. Overwhelmingly, yes. About 2/3 of the vote came in saying, yes, Derek Carr is my quarterback. We had a few no's, and some, I'm not so sure, might just be one bad game, maybe not. Maybe kind of a wait and see type of a thing. Honestly, I was obviously a lot upset like all the rest of you were after the game and his performance. I think this is probably one of those bad games, to be honest with you. I don't think this is going to be a repeat type of incident. Now, we do play the Chiefs next week. He has had some issues with the Chiefs before. He played pretty well the last 2 games last year with them. It'll be very interesting to see how he and this team kind of bounce back, but we're going to get into that a little bit later in the game review specifically. Next thing I want to talk about is there were rumors, and I did do a poll before about who should fill the void, and you guys wanted Deshaun Jackson by a majority here, a slight majority, and those wishes came true for you guys who did vote for Deshaun Jackson. Now, my take on this is I think this is probably the best move we can do right now, given what happened yesterday with Zay Jones. I was kind of leaning towards giving Zay Jones a chance, and I talked about that in my preview, and we'll talk a little bit about what happened during the game. I thought OBJ was a non-issue, to be honest with you. 1, he's too expensive, and 2, he's over the hill, and 3, most importantly, I don't like his team chemistry. He's caused problems with 2 organizations now, and I don't think we need any more problems, quite frankly, with this franchise. So I think Deshaun Jackson comes in. He's a California guy. I know a lot of people say he's a Bay Area guy. He's not really a Bay Area guy. He grew up in Long Beach, went to Long Beach Poly, but he did play at Berkeley, so they try to get the connection. But still, I mean, the Raiders played in LA, so what? And he wanted to be here, obviously. And now, I would say the structure of the deal did not come out on Spot Track. It is for 1 year, so basically the rest of the season, so half a season basically. I'm going to guess it's about between $1.5 and $2 million we'll be paying him for these next 8 games that we're going to be playing. Actually, 9 games we're going to be playing for the 17-game season. And frankly, I think that's good. That's good for us. It's relatively cheap. Like I said, I would be thinking that we're going to be paying OBJ about 7.5, the way people were talking, and that's way too much. I think this is a great addition. We can stretch the field. We can keep defenses honest with Renfro and Waller. And also, it's a short-term deal. I know a lot of people are saying this is a great thing. I temper it a little bit. I'm guessing he'll probably get us maybe 2 or 3 touchdowns during the course of the rest of the season. I like him more as a threat. Obviously, he's 35. Well, he's almost 35. He'll be 35 next month. A lot of people say, well, his yards per carry were almost at 28 this season. But really, number one, it's kind of a small sample size. He only caught 8 passes for 221 yards and a touchdown. And that touchdown, he was literally wide open. And that was against Tampa. I didn't see one buck in the picture until the very end. And 2, it was with the LA Rams, who have a very high-powered offense with Matt Stafford. Now, you could say, okay, well, the Raiders have something complementary with Carr and Waller and the receivers, and I would agree with that. But I would temper my expectations. I think he's a good threat, but especially at his age, I don't think anybody's thinking he's going to be our long-term solution as like a wide receiver 1. So that said, I think it's a good move, and it is a good move for us as far as signing him, especially right now in the middle of the season. Who else are we going to get, quite frankly, with the whole Ruggs incident and everything. So let's move on with that, and let's talk about something else I didn't really want to talk about, and that's Damon Arnette. Now, if you've been watching my off-season live streams and also my videos, especially coming into the season, a lot of people were knocking him. It was kind of a mixed bag with him. I was really pulling for this guy. I think he does have the talent, but obviously he doesn't have it right up in the head right now. He's had a lot of issues, and I listened to Mike Mayock's, it wasn't really a press conference, it was a conference call. It was like a Zoom meeting, and he mentioned that as well. Nate, U08, good to see you here. I just saw you in the chat room here. We're talking about Damon Arnette right now. He was released today by the Raiders, and the reason why Mike Mayock said was because of a video on social media where he's waving a gun around, threatening to shoot somebody. I saw the video. It was almost like a video response where he's waving at the camera, I'll shoot you. I mean, still, it's still stupid. But honestly, quite frankly, I think it's probably more like the straw that broke the camel's back with this guy. He's had some on-the-field issues before. He had that hit-and-run incident last year. He's actually being sued in civil court now for it. When they asked Mike Mayock during this phone call about this, as far as the vetting process with this guy, because he was a first-round pick, and a lot of people thought we had basically overreached with this guy in the first round. And they said, yes, there were red flags with it, but, we took the risk. And, he was honest. He said, things he said about Arnette, he feels that they missed, quote unquote, and the responsibility is 100% on him. And that kind of gets me to my next point with Arnette. And it wasn't just the off the field stuff. He didn't look like he was all there on the field. He frankly played like with his head up his ass. They had that play, I believe it was against the Steelers, where I think it was Claypool wasn't down by contact, and he just ran right by him because he got burnt, and he just stood there looking stupid, looking away, and Claypool just got up, and I think either Merrick or Abram had to clean it up. He got like an extra 5 or 10 yards on the play because he had his head up his ass. That's the kind of thing he was doing the whole time. And, frankly, between this and, with Ruggs, Mayock was mentioning again that they were looking, and I've heard this, the whole time with these guys, whole time with the Gruden Mayock regime, that they were looking for foundation type players, high character type players. You know what? Damon Arnette's not a high character type player. Henry Ruggs going over 150 miles an hour driving drunk is not a high character type player. So, this gets back to this guy right here, Mike Mayock. Now, I know Gruden had the final call on all this stuff, but let's be frank, he is the general manager, number one. Number two, Gruden brought him in to basically be player evaluator. This is what this guy did for 15 years at NFL Network. He did not see the red flags with these guys. Are you kidding me? We're drafting. Not only are we drafting these guys, we're reaching for these guys. A lot of other people are saying Damon Arnette was a second or third round draft choice here. I mean, let's keep that in mind. A lot of people were saying Ruggs shouldn't have been the first wide receiver taken off the board. So you know, it feels like another case where they think they're the smartest guys in the room, and I'm including Gruden in this, and they're just looking totally stupid. And I don't know if it's going to be my first video in the off season, but it's going to be one of my first videos in the off season where I'm going to evaluate all these picks from the Gruden-Mayock era and kind of give my final judgment on it. But, you know, to me, it's not looking good for him. I'm going to do it and kind of break it out and be a little more detailed. If you want to put your comments on Mayock, whether we should stay or go, I think I'll probably put some kind of poll out this week and get your opinions on that. And then we can talk about it at the next live stream. But, you know, it's just a shame, and it's just another thing this team has to go through. You know, I'm not saying it's as impactful as the Ruggs incident, you know, with him killing somebody, or Gruden, this whole thing, and losing your head coach, but still, it's just another stupid thing to deal with. So let's move on from Arnett, just like the team has moved on, and let's talk about this game against the Giants. And as usual, we do start on the defensive side of the ball for the Raiders. And I'm going to go right to my first key to the game. And that was this front four. Now, I said not only getting to Daniel Jones, and, you know, because he's pretty erratic. He's been erratic all season. Not only that, but helping to stop the run. So with that in mind, I gave this a B-. Now, I know Yannick Ngakoue is really heating up these last few games. Got 2 sacks in the game, created that fumble here. But it's kind of a tale of two lines here. I think the edge rushers did pretty well. Crosby didn't get a sack, but he got a quarterback hit. Carl Nassib was a disruptor in there on some of their little stupid gadget plays. He stopped Tony on a play. But this interior line, you know, and quite frankly, Jonathan Hankins, you know, for his size, he gets pushed around way too much. I mean, Hernandez was just driving him. He just used him wherever he was, like his little bitch or something. And he was making these huge holes for Devontae Booker. Now, I'm not going to knock Devontae Booker, but he is not a top 10 running back. You know, he almost had 100 yards in this game. He actually did, and then they stopped him for 3 yards. He ended up with 99. But still, what if Saquon Barkley was in this game? Would he have gotten 200 yards? He might have. You know, and then Elijah Penny came in as well. That's Rashad Penny's little brother, the guy from Seattle. And he had like 7 yards per carry just to spell Booker. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with this team? Can we fix this? So it's like we fixed the pass rush, the pressure, because we had no pass rush last year. It was trash. And we're probably going to double our sack count. That's great. But we had another hole at DT. We tried, like I said in previous videos, we tried to slap shit together. We are getting some more interior rush, but it almost feels like these guys prefer to tackle the quarterback and get sacks and then to plug holes and tackle the running back. And that's my opinion. And this kind of falls in line with my second key to the game here. And I put that on Perryman and Abram as far as stopping this run. Not only Booker, but also the scrambling ability of Donald Jones. He came in as far as the 6th best scrambler. That means if they're going back to pass and they decide to tuck it in and run with the ball. So, you know, you've got your Justin Fields, your Lamar Jacksons of the world. And then after that is him. So he does a pretty good job with this. And I got to give this a C-, honestly. They ended up giving up 149 rushing yards, almost 5 yards per carry. Now, again, I know it's the interior line. They did miss some assignments on some holes, and that includes Littleton and KJ. But the one thing that really upset me that kind of put this even lower, I was thinking about maybe a C, was that play, I believe it was 3rd and 8. Jones went back to pass, didn't have anything, scrambled up the middle, and I saw Abram coming. And it looked like he was going to hit him about 2 yards shy. He was going to give him a nice little tattoo, right? And then all of a sudden, Jones did like a little pirouette, and they called it like a corkscrew move. And Abram barely even got a hand on him, and he kind of fell over for the first down. I was like, what the hell is going on with these guys, you know? And this kind of, and like I said, this is why I put these rankings here. This is by yards per game. it's not the only thing, but it kind of gives you an idea of what you're dealing with here. And as far as the overall grade for the defense, I had to give it a C+. You know, maybe some people would give it a B, maybe a B minus. You know, they did only give up 16 points. I'm not going to give them the pick 6. You know, Giants scored 23, but I'm not going to count that against them. But the rushing, I mean, they gashed them, and I moved it from, I was thinking of a B minus, but I moved it to a C+ because the big stat for me was the third down conversions. The Giants were 6 of 12 on third down conversions, with a guy whose quarterback rating was in the 70s coming into this game. They made Jones look really good. He had a quarterback rating over 100 at the end of for this game. And I, in all fairness, couldn't give any kind of a B grade for this. I would say it's slightly above average. And quite honestly, even with the performance they give, now you could say, well, the offense put them on a short field a couple times. They only gave up, field goals. I get that, but they also didn't do any favors for themselves. They did do well enough, in my opinion, for us to win as a team. Obviously, there's more issues on the offensive side, and we'll get to that right now. But first, if you are enjoying this, why not give this video a thumbs up? And when you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification and set it to all. That way you'll be notified of all of our live streams and videos, including ones we do every week at halftime of games live. And we're going to be doing it again this weekend. It's going to be on Sunday Night Football against the rival Chiefs. And I'm going to go over my 4 keys to the game and how we're doing in the first half, and then get your opinions on how we're doing in the first half. We go about 15 minutes, and then we go right back to watching the game. Now, I encourage you to come out and join us for this. So with that said, let's go right on to looking at this offense. Well, as far as taking what we want, we didn't do this. It's kind of a mixed bag overall as far as the offense, to be honest, but we're going to go with my first key to the game, and that was the running game with Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. And I actually gave this a B+. I'm going to tell you why. They ended up with 117 yards, a little under 6 yards per carry, especially in that first half. Jacobs was on fire. I mean, like I said in the preview, I thought he was going to come back. He had that extra week off. He's going to be at 100%, and that's what he showed. I mean, this guy can move, he can juke, he can do the jump cut, and he's also very physical, as you can see here with Leonard Williams, just basically pushing him off him. There were times with Jacobs, so he should have been stopped behind the line of scrimmage, ended up with a few more yards. This guy is very talented. The only knock on Jacobs I can see, be honest with you, is his durability. Your best ability is your availability, and he did get dinged up, I believe, in the third quarter, and that's kind of where they brought in Drake more. I thought I couldn't really give it an A grade. For one, I don't think they utilized Drake as much as they should have until Jacobs got hurt, and two, more importantly, they didn't really get the job done in the running game when it counted in the red zone. We'll get to that with the overall grade as well. I got to give kudos to the Giants defense a little bit for kind of doing the bending but not breaking. But I think to get an A grade, I think they should have punched in at least once. They didn't have any touchdowns on the ground. And then the other key I had was Zay Jones. Now, I was expecting Zay Jones to kind of come in and fill that vacuum. Is he as good as Henry Ruggs? Absolutely not as far as talent goes. But he does have the speed. And, frankly, I got to give this an F. And it's not all on Zay Jones. Carr gets a good amount of this as well. Jones only finished with 1 reception for 20 yards. There was that interception that Carr stared down Jones. And, he made McKinney look like an all-pro out there. It was absolutely ridiculous. And the other one, that pick 6, he threw it behind Renfro. And McKinney, like I said, McKinney's kind of, should send a little check to Carr, because his next contract, he's probably going to get more because he looked so good out there. And a lot of it was on Derek Carr. And that's why I had to give the overall grade as a D. Now, they did score 16 points. I wasn't going to go F. They got almost 300 yards in passing. They got over 100 yards in rushing. The big thing is, obviously, was the red zone. They were in the red zone 6 friggin' times. They only scored a touchdown once. They got 3 field goals after that, and then Carlson missed a chip shot field goal. And what is up with him, right? Every week he's either missing a little short field goal or an extra point. I don't know what's going on with him. And then the 6th time we're in there, that was at the end of the game where they got the strip sack. So overall, they didn't get the job done. Carr was very erratic. Now, I know Edwards didn't have a good game. Wasn't even on the score sheet. Renfro did pretty well. It's what I expected, around 50 yards and a touchdown. Waller did better than I expected, because they do, Giants do a pretty good job against the tight end, but he ended up with 92 yards. And, frankly, since he's an elite tight end, he should be getting good yardage each and every week, regardless of the competition. But he dropped a pass, but by the same token, Carr overthrew him. He was wide open on that seam, right in the end zone, right near the end of the first half. And even Carr pointed at himself and saying, yes, that was on me. So I couldn't give them an F. I don't think they completely failed. They were in this game, but quite frankly, again, we're looking at these ratings. The Giants aren't that good of a team, and it shouldn't have been that close. Even though we could have tied it at the end and we screwed it up, it shouldn't have been that close. We should have won by about 10 to 15 points. It didn't happen. Now, we can talk about in the Q&A, there's some comments about maybe why it happened, and I'll get to those, and then I'll give you my take. I heard some reasoning behind it. So let's get to the Q&A right now, and we'll talk about this, right? I want to hear what you have to say about this. I'm going to scroll up, get your comments, and then we'll go from there. You can talk about what I talked about. You can talk about whether or not you like the signing of Deshaun Jackson, your whole opinion on Damon Arnett, the whole drafting of the Raiders last few years. Obviously, the game with the Giants, you can talk about that. Jeff Garrison put some comments in here earlier. I hope he's back in here because it would be nice to hear from him. Hefe KC, welcome here. I just saw you there. It's great to see Hefe KC. You know why? Because he likes to come and troll the Raider channels on their live streams. So I kind of consider it an honor. If you're here trolling my channel, then I must be important enough for you to come here and troll my channel. So say what you want about the Chiefs, but you know what? You can come here and talk all you want if they win next week, if KC wins. But if they lose, you better come in here and take your lumps too. And if you don't come in here and take your lumps and you come back here later on, then I'm going to ban your ass, okay? So I'm giving you the opportunity. I'm going to be sportsman here, right? So next week with the Chiefs game, we're going to be going back on Monday. We're going to do a review of the Chiefs Raider game on Sunday Night Football. If you guys win, you can come in here and talk all you want. Okay. But if you guys lose, you better come in here and take your lumps. All right. Hey, Jesse Rodas, come on in. All right. He said, yes, sir. I'll be back. Cool. So let's get to the top of the board. I want to try to get all your comments here. We can talk a little bit more before we go. Jeff Garrison put some good comments here. He's been grieving all week. Can't imagine having to practice to play a game. I don't know how the Raiders move on from here. I wish I did. I don't know how they block it off, how to move on. I'm assuming he's talking about the Ruggs incident where a woman was killed. We already talked about that. I just made a quick video on it, and I talked a little bit more in the details in my preview live stream. I don't want to talk about it anymore. If you want the details, you can go to it. There's some grim kind of details involved with it. I really don't want to talk about it. I try to want to move on, to be honest with you. And then he kind of goes to the game. He says Waller dropped a TD that hit him in the chest. Yeah, kind of. A guy was on him too. Wide receivers weren't getting open. I agree with that. But Carr was completely off his game. Yeah, Carr was throwing low, including to Bryan Edwards. There was a pass near his feet. There was one he dropped. How could they possibly be, though, after a week they had? Well, here's my take on it. Look, the Raiders have been historically bad after bye weeks, and they've been historically bad going to the East Coast and traveling. Now, you do remember last year with the Jets, we went over there, and we had to have a Ruggs miracle to win the game, and I believe the Jets were over at that time. That would have been their first win. So I don't know what's going on. I thought honestly, and I talked about it in my preview, I thought that was mainly Gruden. I saw the 2 games post Gruden, and it looked like this team had it together. And then this one, it looked like Gruden was back coaching and calling plays. I believe there was like a third and 6 at the 10-yard line, I believe. And they ran the ball, and Jacobs only got 3 yards, and they had to kick a field goal. That sounds like a Gruden to me, right? It didn't make any sense. So it is what it is. It'll be interesting to see how they get back into things against KC, against a rival on Sunday Night Football. Last time they did play on Sunday Night Football in Vegas, and they lost at the very end. They left Kelsey wide open. We know about that. That was the second game. And they split the series, and they won the first game. So they played the Chiefs hard. The Chiefs don't look as good as they have in the past. So it'll be very interesting to see if they can get it together. He said if Ruggs didn't make that tragic mistake, we'd blow out the Giants, and everybody in the media would call us the best team in the AFC. They would say we were one of them. Obviously, with the Titans destroying the Rams last night in LA without Derrick Henry, they would probably be crowning them first. And keep this in mind also, even if we would have beaten the Giants, we blew them out, we'd only be a half game ahead of the Chargers. They also won, and they beat us head to head. So, I mean, they would probably talk about us in playoffs, maybe around the top 10, but I don't think they would anoint us as the best team in the AFC. Block out what happened to them. Raider Wolf says, I heard people say the team's going through a lot. They're dealing with a ton of things, but only heard 3 things. And he talked about the Gruden thing, the Ruggs thing, and the Arnett thing. Now, my take is the Gruden thing is a huge deal, obviously, because he was running the show here. He wasn't just the head coach. He was a player personnel guy. He called the shots. He had final say in all this stuff. And he had been here for his 4th year, okay? That's a huge deal, okay? Henry Ruggs killing somebody is a huge deal. He's going to go to jail. They caught him. And just even off the field and the emotions, because these guys are tight-knit, right? You know, that's a huge deal. The Damon Arnett thing, I would say, is not... It's a huge deal stepping back and looking at our draft picks, but I mean, the week to week with this team, they've already moved on. They got Casey Hayward. Casey Hayward took his job already. So, you know, it wasn't like he was having an all-pro season and then this craziness happened and he's gone. So I would say the first 2 are definitely huge. The third one, not so much. Sandy B. Hi, Raider fans. Hi, Sandy B. Nate U08. You were in late, looking forward to the topics. And yes, without a strong head coach, Carr might be done. He looked bad. We will see after our new receiver gets acclimated. I want to see next week. And I am expecting Deshaun Jackson to play a little bit, but he won't be getting the full snaps. It's going to be it's probably going to be more Zay till he gets his feet wet with this new system. But I'm not going to use that excuse. Honestly, he played terribly. He needs to bounce back. I don't care if people are dropping the ball or not. He could have played a lot better, and he wasn't. And those 2 interceptions were solely on him. One he threw behind, got the pick 6. The other one, he looked at Zay Jones the entire friggin' time. And McKinney, he came from across the friggin' field to get that ball. Those were both on him. So he's got a lot of bouncing back to do personally. Dominique 5 says, why even draft Arnett if he had a red flag? It's not like he's a shutdown corner. So why draft him in the first place, Mayock? Well, they thought he was. You know, if you were listening to what they were saying in the post-draft, they had him right there. With the other Ohio State cornerback with the Lions, name passes me right now, but he was like drafted like 3rd overall. And he's not. This is the same argument that these 2 guys used with Cleve Farrell, saying he was right even with Nick Bosa, right at the post draft, and it didn't happen. Again, I'm going to reserve my full detail of this probably in my first off-season video about draft evaluations and whether or not Mayock should be here. But they swung and missed hard on both of those players, in my opinion. More so with Clee. because I think Klee is trying hard. I just don't think he is worthy of a fourth overall pick at the NFL level. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. I think we overreached, so I can't really blame him. Arnett is a head case. He has the talent. I believe he has the talent, but his brain, it's not there. It's not on football right now. And I hope he gets his act together, to be honest with you, because he could come back in the league. He's got the kind of talent. If he can get his head together, he can come back on another team in 2 or 3 years and be a Pro Bowler. Okay, so it's all up to him. Dominique 5 also says Zay Jones is only good in off-season workouts. When the season starts, he goes MIA. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with Zay Jones, because Carr pumps him up so much. He's got the workout and he's the dedicated, and I love him. Well, it's time to show the love. I know with Ruggs being out real short, maybe that was it. But to me, Zay Jones should be the starter, the starting Z, right? He's their deep threat right now. They've got a whole week of practice. So to me, there's no excuse at this point. If Zay Jones lays another egg with the Chiefs, there's no excuse. I honestly think that they would have signed Deshaun Jackson either way, even if Zay Jones would have played well in the Giants game, just to have the depth. I mean, I would have, especially at the price, and it's a short-term rental. It makes sense. As Sandy B says, where's their running game? That's a good question. Now, the running game was there for us. It's the run defense. Where's that at? And I stated this way back in the off season. There were 3 positions that we had to look at to fill the hole, and defensive tackle was one of them. And that was the position I'm not going to say they neglected it, but they put a lot of also-rans, a lot of people that were cut by other teams. Solomon Thomas was a bust at edge, and he didn't really work out. So they signed him, moved him inside. Quentin Jefferson was let go by the Vikes. Philon's a decent guy. He came from the Gus Bradley system. I'm not saying he's a superstar player, but he's a solid guy. And Hankins, like I said, I don't understand. For a one technique guy, he gets pushed around, and he's a big man. He's a mountain of a man. He gets pushed around way too much. I don't know if he has to hit the weight room or what, but I want somebody to plug a hole, not get pushed around and create a mile-sized hole. Dominique says, personally, I want a new regime. Everyone associated with Gruden needs to go. All the coaches and front office personnel. Would that include Gus Bradley, sir? I will let you answer that because I would like to retain Gus Bradley in whatever form or fashion this offseason goes down. If we keep Bisaccia, if we go get a new coach, because as far as yardage goes, this team is right around the top 10 now overall, and the passing is good. The only real knock on this team right now is the run defense. And quite frankly, I don't blame Gus Bradley for that. I mean, there were so many holes. It's like Swiss cheese with this defense. If you look at it a year ago with Gunther, he brought in his guys. He's got Yannick, a pass rusher. He's got Casey Hayward, who was, I'd have to look again, but he was ranked number 1 at one point by PFF as far as a cornerback position. If he's not number 1, he's near there. And then Perryman, the middle linebacker who took Kwiatkowski's job and happens to be leading the league in tackles. So I can't knock Gus Bradley. You can't make a Legion of Doom in 1 year. And I said this before, and I really think he's improved this team more than I expected in 1 year. So if anybody, he deserves to stay on. The other people we can talk about. Agreed, Jake should have seen the game earlier. And not to say Drake is a great inside runner, he's not, but it's the outside game. It's the passing game. Again, this takes pressure away from the Wallers and the Renfros of the world. If you've got Drake coming out there, and they started doing that in the second half, and he was starting to gash them, really. So you got to incorporate that a little bit earlier. Carr had a horrible game, absolutely. Giants are playing good defense. They are. like I said, I had to give them credit. I wouldn't say it was great defense. And like I said, they gave up over 400 yards in total offense. They were more bend but not break, and some of that was on Carr overthrowing players as well. That Met Stadium is cursed. Uh, we beat the Jets there last year on a miracle play with Ruggs, so I can't say that. So yes, Eric. Raider Wolf says yes, Eric, but losing Gruden in a way is a good thing. Well, let me get back to that as well. So if you look at these impacts, right, like with Gruden, and I said it after the second game, this team's playing way better. And I've been knocking Gruden all season. If you've been looking at my reviews, you know, my good, bad, and ugly, I have Gruden in there. I have him with a little clown hat on because he doesn't change anything up. I think there was a bit of a regression in Carr, but also some of the play calling as well. I think we probably got out-coached a little bit at the coordinator level, especially on the offensive side. Defense was pretty good. Again, if you can knock the defense, it's that first drive blues. The same thing with the Eagles. They just came down and scored really easily, and then the defense kind of settled in. Same thing here with the Giants. It was too easy, in my opinion, especially this team. They're not that good. Can't cry over spilt draft picks. Man had a plan. Well, Nate, you can cry over it if that man is still running things. That's my opinion, right? And we still have Mike Mayock there. Gruden's gone, but Mayock has to bear some of this responsibility, even as a player evaluator. He swung and missed hard on some of these. Raider Wolf said, and look how that turned out. Missed out some of the really good players. Yeah, like Devin White, and I talked about that. Did you see how he played in the playoffs? You go back and look at that. Now, granted, the Bucs defense very good. It's easier to look good when there's other players there, you know, like Simmons and stuff. But Dominican Sue played pretty well last year as well. But still, it would have been a much better pick overall than Cleve Farrell. And Arnett, give me a fucking break. Yes. Tanner Muse. Tanner Muse, was he a third-round pick, I believe? I don't think he got hurt the first year, and then he kind of came back, and they were going to use him. They were going to put him in the same position, and then something freaking happened, and then he's cut. So, not to say he's a great player, not to say that was a great pick. I think we probably didn't give him enough time. So if you look at a case-by-case basis, let's see, Jesse Rodas says Gus has to work on the run stop, though. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, that's the biggest knock right now. But if you look at the defense last year, what were we good at? We weren't good at causing turnovers. We were one of the lowest people as far as sacks and pressures. Our corners were getting fried. We're at the bottom in worst in yardage given up. So, like I said, you can't plug all the holes in 1 year. So, he's made strides. Like I said, he's made more strides than I thought he would. Hefe KC, okay, like to see Eric Bieniemy as a Raiders coach. I think he's a good fit there. My issue with Bieniemy is it him or is it Andy Reid? You know what I mean? That's the big question for me. I don't trust that it's him. And Greg Olsen, honestly, up until this game, he was fine those first two games after Gruden. And if we hire Bieniemy, then he's going to want to run the show. And I'm not sure if it's on him or Andy Reid. And Dominique5 says, yes, Gus can go as well. He is not excluded. I've never been a Gus fan personally. Well, honestly, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. This defense is around top 10 now. When we were, low 20s last year as far as yards. Not to say it's perfect. And the talent wasn't there, and he brought a lot of his own guys in here to make it better. You have to admit that. So, Hefe, I agree. Jesse wrote us, hell no on Eric Bieniemy. You can keep him. I agree. I'll give my take after the season's over. This is only one game, and I've already talked about Bisaccia. I think he has to win at least one playoff game for him to stay as head coach. It might not necessarily be fair, but it is what it is. I would be more. I think the top priority for us is to get a top, like director of player personnel, a top guy there, and not let Tommy Boy run the show and give Gruden $100 million contract. You know, he's not a football guy. Al was a football guy. His son is not a football guy. His son is a Tommy Boy who inherited this team, right? He does not know how to make breaks, okay? So let's get somebody who knows what they're doing in that top position and then let them decide what to do with the rest of the coaching staff or general manager position. Nate says, Muse, you're right, but you can blame Gru if you want to, but there's a whole team of coaches, etc. Well, Gru put them in too, right? And I already said he waited a year or two long with firing Gunther, right? This defense was worse when Gunther was fired, when he left, than when he took it. So that's wholly on Gruden. I say you give coaches 2 years, 1 year to clean up the mess, and second year to show decent improvement. And it wasn't happening; it was getting worse. So he should have been gone after year 2, and he wasn't gone till 2/3, 3/4 of the way of year 3. So new coaching staff next year. That's what Nate says. Hefe says, Rodas, I think he'd do better than your coach you have now. That's debatable. To be honest with you, I think the setup right now with Bisaccia as kind of the leader and the coordinators doing kind of the nuts and bolts, I think it's been working. I think this is kind of a little bump in the road. I'm a little more concerned with Carr. Hey, JoJo's, thanks for coming in. I see you there. Appreciate it. Jesse Rhoda says, nah, we good. We'll bounce back this week against KC. It's going to be very interesting. This is the type of games, the type of league where you could lose to a crappy team and then go and beat a Chiefs team handedly. It can happen. We've been seeing it all around the league with the teams, right? So Sandy B says, I think Waller did good. Waller did do pretty well. He did drop a pass in the end zone. The guy was kind of on him though, but still. But I mean, to me, he's an elite talent. He's right up there with Kelsey. Right now, I'll say he's the second best with Kelsey being number 1. To be honest, he needs to show that he can put up numbers like Kelsey. I think he's better than Kittle, and I think he's not as brittle as Kittle. Let's just put it that way. It's Andy. Where's Andy at? Raider Wolf, is next week's game at Allegiant? Yes, it is. It is in Las Vegas, Sunday night football. Game time start is at 5:20, I believe. So our halftime will be about an hour and a half after that. So a little bit before 7. We'll be on for about 15 minutes or so, and we can discuss our thoughts of the first half. Hefe says, both are calling plays. Bieniemy was a great running back coach. Yeah, I remember him with the Chargers. Eric sleeping with Bieniemy. I thought that was the best Berman nickname. Raider Wolf says, oh crap. Dominic says, the defense is improved. Don't get me wrong, but Bradley doesn't blitz enough for me, and this run defense is atrocious. Well, that's a luxury. We don't need to blitz. We're probably, I'd have to look, we're probably around the top 10 in sacks and pressures. And if we can do that with our front 4, that is awesome. That is great. This is kind of reminiscent of the Raiders back in the early 80s when they won the Super Bowl. They got a lot of pressure with their front 4, and they didn't have to, and they could also stop the run with their front 7 pretty handily, and they didn't really have to rely on the safeties, so to speak, and they had good corners. They had a lot more talent, but it is what it is. Like I said, right now, look at the defense now, judge Gus on where we are now compared to where we were last year. And that's all you need to do. Go ahead and take a look at the stats. It is what it is. I need to ask for Monday off, Raider Wolf. Well, you know what? I was watching the game. We went live here halftime. I turned off the live stream and I was watching the second half. Literally 5 minutes later, the pick six happened, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna need a beer now. It's like one of those games, and it was. It was just like, oh, this is so. It's like, come on, guys, come on. Just some consistency, you know. I'm not asking for perfection, but you know, Carr was way below average in that game. Dominique says the defense is improved. Oh, okay, I already read that. Sorry about that. Hefe says, I think it's Carr's fault. I'd play Mariota if he's healthy. You know, a lot of people say that about Mariota, and you know, it's like the first time Carr does something, it's like throw Mariota in. It's like, you know, break glass. Be quiet. Somebody's crying for me. It's like break glass in emergency. Mariota's in the glass, you know, open him up, you know, like he's this great quarterback. Remember, he's the first overall pick, and Tennessee let him go. So, not to say he sucks, but he's not as good as Carr. Let's get the only thing he does better than Carr is the RPO, obviously, and that, you know, I gotta say that 4th and 2 where they basically did the RPO, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Because what's the defense gonna do? If they go after Mariota, he's going to toss it. They're going to get the 2 yards. In this case, they didn't, and Mariota just cut in, and he got the 2. I think he got like 4 or 5, but he just kind of got the 2, and then he kind of just rolled down and fell down. That's all you need. 4th down, 4th and 2. It was brilliant. Brilliant play calling there to get Carr out of there on that play. But for him full-time, I don't trust it. I think Carr's more accurate, despite even with that shitty game with the Giants. He's way more accurate than Mariota is. Jesse Rhoda says, we have to give Gus time. He can't fix it in 1 year. Agreed. Nate says, thanks for the good show. Got to go. See you for the next one. Thank you for coming. And if you haven't hit the thumbs up on this if you do enjoy this. That way YouTube can see that the almighty algorithm is pleased. And if you do like it, if you're not sub also, and hit that bell notification where it goes to all. You click it and you go to all. That way you'll see all the notifications pop up on your list, on your sub list. And that way you won't miss any of my live streams here. Let's see. Hefe, good thing you're not a Raider. You know what? I will take the heat from, like I said, I'll take the heat from Hefe if the Chiefs kick our ass Sunday night. We'll be doing a live stream Monday night, probably at this time, 6 o'clock. If they win, you can say what you want. But if they lose, you got to come out here and take the heat as well. So I think it's going to be another great game. The last 2 games were outstanding games. It's going to be on Sunday night, prime time. No one's going to want to look crazy. It's probably going to come down to the wire again, just like the last 2 games. So it's going to be a treat for football fans in general, let alone fans of these teams. Let's see. Raider Wolf says, I think Bradley has done a great job so far. Yes, I agree. It's only the beginning. He's turned the defense around. Agreed. We need some more talent, especially interior defensive line. Sandy B says, watching Monday Night Football, 14-3 Bears down as usual, going into the third quarter, frustrating. I was watching some of it and my feed was kind of going out. I was watching it right before the live stream. You got to, with the Bears, any Bear fans out there, I know Sandy likes the Bears, give Justin Fields some time. He's got a talent. He's very athletic. I saw a play where he scrambled and the linebacker literally, he was so close to him and he just went horizontal and just went right by him and got a couple extra yards, got the first down. Now all he has to do is get the play calling, the playbook in order, and get the passing side down. Like I said, he's a rookie and they're going to knock him and say he sucks. You got to give these guys at least a couple years. Look at some of the fame. Look at Dan Marino's passing statistics. Look at Peyton Manning's passing statistics as a rookie. I think Manning threw like 20 picks or something crazy. So, he's in the Hall of Fame now. He won 2 rings. So, you gotta be patient, and hopefully Adam Gase is gone. I think he's a terrible head coach. And there's some other problems with the Bears, but this isn't Bears chat, so we'll move on with that. So um, I'll be here. Mahomes is starting to heat up. Well, finally, good job. I mean, I I wouldn't necessarily call what happened last weekend heating up. I guess compared to like a block of ice, it's heating up. I wouldn't be so proud of that, to be honest with you. He didn't do much better than Derek Carr, to be honest. Aside from those picks. Hefe likes troll a lot. Jesse Rhoda says, I want to see if he's a man of his word. Yeah. So next Monday, we're going to have a live stream right here at 6 o'clock. And you got to show up either way. If you win, you get bragging rights. You get to talk smack all you want. That's fine. But if you lose, you got to come in here and take your lumps. Okay. That was the deal. You agreed to it. Hey, Duet Stream, glad to see you, or Duet Steam, sorry. Glad to see you in here. They say play calls look exactly like what some were accusing of Gruden's fault. Again, same red zone issues used to be pointed to Gruden. Yeah, and I mentioned that in the game review right here earlier. It almost looked like they regressed, and Gruden was coaching the offense again at times. Not all the time, but some of the times, especially in the red zone. Some of those were kind of head scratchers. And honestly, you can't blame the Ruggs thing for the red zone. I mean, he's a speedster guy. It's not like you lost like a Michael Crabtree guy. That'd be nice to have somebody like him that we can rely on in the end zone as well, just like Waller. But again, Carr has to be accurate. So, the Bears. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Duet also says maybe they now understood it's all about execution. I'm not hating DC. Well, he had a crappy game. He admitted to it. He called himself out on it. So, I remember a time, the 94 season, that's the year the Niners won, and the Steelers lost, or not Steelers, the 49ers lost, I believe 40-8. I think it was on Monday Night Football. I think it was in prime time, and he got benched and pulled from the game. And he bounced back and, ended up scoring 6 touchdowns in a Super Bowl. So it's gonna be the measure of Derek Carr to get through adversity. I think his head is on very straight. So I'm expecting a bounce back. I'm not gonna say the Raiders are gonna win. The Chiefs are gonna be tough. I think this is going to be a very close game. It could go either way. Very talented. So, like I said, it's going to be a fun game to watch. Mahomes is not heating up. Well, like I said, compared to before, when he was an interception machine a couple weeks ago, it's funny, those little baseball passes aren't getting by anymore like they used to, the way he was. So, and I'm not entirely sold on this offensive line of the Chiefs either. I don't want to. We'll talk about that a little bit later with the Chiefs, but I know PFF has them ranked rather high, especially Orlando Brown. I'm like, not so much. Hefe says I'm pretty good at predicting games. I've seen a high scoring game next Sunday. Yeah, that's not really tough to predict, Hefe. To be honest. Both offenses are pretty good, and the defenses aren't as good as the offenses, so predicting an over isn't like Nostradamus, in my opinion. Sandy B says, who was supposed to have Booker covered? Lots of plays seemed like, yeah, I was screaming at the screen. And I mentioned that in the halftime show that did the defense forget that the running backs can catch balls in the flat? What happened there? There's a lot of plays. Where's the linebacker? Again, I've been very critical of Corey Littleton, and I would say 30% of the time he makes pretty good plays, but then to me it's 70% of the time no bueno. 70% of the time, he's not the guy he was with the Rams. He's not the Kittle killer. That was the whole thing. And a lot of people say no. Yes. We got him to cover Travis Kelce. Okay, because he could cover George Kittle, against the Niners in his division. He ain't cutting the mustard. Let's be honest. That was a bad signing. He's not worth the money. We should probably move on. I'd have to look at the books. We'll also do a salary cap review like I did last offseason right after. and I'll let you know. And a lot of people got on my case about Richie Incognito going away, Gabe Jackson going away. I said at least one of those guys was going to go away, and people were, no, no, no. Yes, yes, yes. It's not just about football and X's and O's. There's a money factor to this also. So I'll do another video on that. I think I want to do the should I stay or should I go with Mike Mayock first, though, and look at those draft picks. Let's see. Jesse Rhoda says Max is going to sack Mahomes 2 times next week. Book it. If Yannick doesn't get to him first. Remember, Mahomes is a little squeaky out there. He's like a grease pig out there. He's one of those tough guys to bring down. There'll be some pressure, but he's the kind of guy who can roll out, throw it sideways 30 yards, and get the first down. It's amazing. He does have talent. Like I said, it's going to be a tough game. Raider Wolf says, I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game. I do. I think it's going to be prime time again. Like I said, the offenses are better than the respective defenses. I mean, you never know what could happen in real life, but it's shaping up that way. Mahomes sucks now. I don't think he sucks. I think they, some people say the Raiders kind of laid the blueprint on how to beat him last year. I think there's a little truth in that. I think there's more truth that his offensive line is not that good anymore. And even though he's a scrambling quarterback, you can't do that all the time. Look at Lamar Jackson. I don't think Lamar Jackson's ever going to win a Super Bowl, to be honest with you. And frankly, it's more of a gimmick thing. It's kind of like Mariota. If we put Mariota in, yeah, he can scramble better than Carr. He'll probably get a couple more first downs, do the RPO. But at the end of the day, he's going to throw it away. He's going to throw interceptions. He's going to look like Carr did last week more than Carr does. So I'd rather have Carr. Hefe says AFC West games primetime are pretty good. I have to agree with you for the most part. I didn't like the Chargers Raider game, Monday Night Football this year. I didn't think that was very good. I don't think the Raiders played very good at all, to be honest with you. And this whole bullshit about a delay in a dome because there's thunder and lightning outside. I never heard of such a nonsense in my whole life. They're playing inside. There is a roof. What is going on with that? And then those idiots, Steve Young, he's an idiot, by the way. And you can go and look at my halftime report on that. He was talking all kinds of crap on the Raiders because they haven't signed Derek Carr to a contract yet. And then who's the other guy? Later on, was it Riddick? I believe it was Riddick. Had to correct him later on and say, oh, by the way, they have him for 2 more years. This isn't his last year on contract, idiot. Steve Young was a great quarterback. Stupid announcer. He's an idiot. He doesn't know anything about. If you don't know about the Raiders and the contracts, then keep your mouth shut. Bottom line. It's kind of like Elway. Elway, I think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He sucks as a GM. That doesn't mean you can be a good GM because you're a great quarterback. So. Raider Wolf says, hey, what did you unsend? Don't worry about it. As long as he comes back in here and takes his lumps on Monday, I'm fine. I don't care if he retracts it. Sandy B says, just saw 8 wins, 1 loss. Arizona, wow. Just saying. Okay. Arizona's looked pretty good for the most part. Had a little stumble there. I still think they'll make the playoffs. Kyler Murray is hurt. I got to check out what his status is. So I think that's a big thing, though. I like Kyler Murray as far as the running quarterbacks. I would say right under Mahomes. I think that Mahomes is probably the best scrambling running type quarterback who can also throw. I would pick Kyler Murray at number 2 on that list. Jesse Rhoda says, no need to sign him to an extension yet. Exactly. We need to sign him in this offseason. So to me, Right now, the two big priorities for the Raiders this coming off season: get Carr signed to a new contract, and hopefully the salary cap jumps up, and then go out and get Davante Adams as our wide receiver one. Okay, we tried drafting players, obviously with Ruggs. We know what happened. Let's get this guy. Carr loves him. He used to play with him. He's arguably the best wide receiver in the league. Pay the man. Get him in here. You know, I don't want OBJ. I don't want to talk about OBJ. Did you want OBJ? Hell no, I don't want OBJ. I didn't want OBJ when he was coming on the market with the Giants. You know, a guy who loses a fight with a practice kicking net because he's throwing a fit like a little baby. I don't want that on my team. I don't care how many one-handed catches he can make. He's overpriced, and you know what? He's past his prime. Let's go get Davante Adams, right? Hefe says, it must be nice Raiders have a cupcake schedule. Oh, really? A cupcake schedule? We played Baltimore out the gate. They're a playoff team. We played Pittsburgh right after that. They're a playoff team. Miami was right there. What do you mean cupcake schedule? What are you talking about, cupcake schedule? You play cupcake schedule. You do know that the Raiders and Chiefs are going to play just about every opponent, right? Their schedules as far as the teams are nearly identical, right? Do you know that, right? Well, you'll play everybody in the NFC East. We'll play everybody in the NFC East. You'll play everybody in the AFC North. We'll play everybody in the AFC North. So I don't know this cupcake nonsense. If you want to talk about cupcake, talk about the Denver Broncos, and they're going 3-0 against the Jets, Giants, and Jags. That was cupcake. Carr only had one good season. He had a good season last year. Pull up the stat sheet, man. He looked pretty good against the Chiefs there, both games, so I don't know what you're talking about. Raider Wolf says, I don't want him either. And he also said, everybody has been talking about it. I'm like, Jesus Christ, are you serious? A lot of fans, and it's not just Raider fans, a lot of fans almost treat the NFL like fantasy. You know, they hear a big name. Oh, we got to bring this guy in. We got to bring this guy in. He's not worth the money. You know, he's not worth the money. He's not as good as he used to be. He's past his prime. And, he's a locker room issue. Why the hell would you want to bring that in here? I just never understood that. OBJ is a solid number 2 wide receiver. Good. KC, go sign him. Cause disruptions in that locker room, please. You guys don't play Green Bay or the Titans. Oh, 2 games. 2 games. Oh, well, you guys finished first. You should have a slightly harder schedule. That's how it's supposed to work, right? Right? You guys went to the Super Bowl. You should have a little harder schedule. I mean, come on. You're talking Green Bay, and we played Chicago. That's that 17th game. And then the off game that we're not playing against the AFC North, that has to do with record. So you're talking about 3 games out of 17. So the other 14 are the same opponents. Obviously, we're playing each other, but, otherwise it's the same opponents. I don't know where your argument is there. And again, you guys finished first, right? You guys went to the Super Bowl. You should have a harder schedule next year. OBJ hasn't had trouble in Cleveland. Really? That's why they released him, right? Okay. It's a little bit different situation in Cleveland. I will agree to that. Not as bad, but still rumblings behind the scenes on that. Again, I don't want him. Past his prime, he's not worth the money he wants. Go get Davante Adams. Raider Wolf says, I would like to get Davante Adams, but that's not going to happen, I believe he's saying. I believe it could very well happen. Especially if Rodgers is gone after this year in Green Bay. Why would Davante Adams want to re-sign there? He's going to be a free agent. They didn't secure him. What are they going to do? Franchise him? I mean, that's the only option for Green Bay at this point. And Jordan Love, I don't know. Again, I'm not gonna. He's not looked very good, but again, he's a rookie. Uh, I'll give him the same pass as well, but a lot of people are saying no, Jordan Love sucks. Even like analysts and stuff. I'm like, but he hasn't looked very good. So let's see, Raider Wolf. That would be great if we could get him on the team. We'd be really dangerous. I'm almost thinking that what's going to happen is with the Devontae Adams situation is that they're going to franchise him probably. Who else is it? I'd have to look at their books. We could probably do a video in the off season. But right now, I don't see anybody else. I'd have to, again, I have to see who their other free agents are. I think Rodgers is gone. They could franchise him, and maybe we could arrange a trade at that point, you know. But Devontae's not going to, I don't think Devontae's going to want to stay there with Rodgers gone. And the Packers, quite frankly, aren't on the upswing. They've had their chance. They're kind of middling right now, you know. And if it's not for Aaron Rodgers playing stellar, they're an average team at best. Let's see. Hefe says Sandy Carr had one playoffs, win one. Had one playoffs, win one. Well, actually, no. Carr was going to the playoffs, got his leg broken, didn't even play in the game, and they lost to Houston. So you gotta get your facts straight on that. I mean, you gave him more than he was even credited for. So that shows you don't know what you're talking about with the Raiders. So, but again, you come back here on Monday, we'll see what we see. Raider Wolf said we should give up a first round draft pick for him. At least, yeah. Especially if Mayock stays on board, I wouldn't mind that at all. Again, this whole thing has been a clown show, and ultimately, you could say this is the doing of Tommy Boy, aka Mark Davis. I call him Tommy Boy if you've seen the movie, where his dad dies in the movie and Chris Farley takes over. Tommy Jr., I guess they called him Tommy Boy, the brake business or whatever. That's how it feels with this situation. Al knew what he was doing. Probably, I think he had some mental things going on late, but he was old. But he knew football. This guy knew football. He revolutionized the sport. Hall of Fame guy. He was a commissioner, coach, GM, owner. Mark Davis is good at going to Hooters and eating, chicken wings. He's not a football guy. He inherited the team, him and his mom. So, I mean, it is what it is. Get somebody in there that knows what they're doing, and then let them make the decisions down. That's the bottom line. Yeah, I wouldn't mind giving up a first round pick for Devontae at all. Let's see, Hefe, LOL, right? Well, yeah, Mark Davis is good at a bad. Well, I didn't even talk about the Mo haircut. I mean, geez. I mean, you're a millionaire, and now the team's worth billions because you moved to Vegas and a brand new stadium, and you can't even get a good haircut. I joked about that. I think in one of my videos in the past. I don't know if it was last season or in the off season, but yeah. Again, it's almost like the team was real bad. I'm going to rewind a few years pre-Gruden. The team was terrible. No real direction. Mr. Sharpie, Dennis Allen, was an absolute joke as a head coach. Oakland wasn't going to give us a stadium. They weren't going to upgrade it. All due respect to the fans in the Bay Area, that stadium was a dump. It was rated the worst stadium. I've been there. It had sewage leakage. I mean, it's been around a while. They weren't upkeeping it. He wanted a new stadium. Oakland wasn't going to give it to him. What are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? And he kind of pushed the panic button with Gruden, gave him that 10-year, $100 million deal. Obviously not worth it. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. After about a year or so, you could kind of see The game passed him by. Gruden. The best thing he could have done was stay in the booth. Didn't really have anything to prove. So now, even without all this email nonsense, he really kind of tarnished his his rep, his image. As a coach, he came to the Raiders his first go around. We made the playoffs a couple of years and then got screwed over by the Tuck rule. And I don't know if Al Davis got pissed off or whatever. And he just shipped him off to Tampa for, was it 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and $10 million, I believe. And then we ended up playing Tampa in the Super Bowl. And, a lot of, Bill Callahan, his buddy, rigging the Super Bowl for him, and a lot of talk about that. I mean, Tim Brown's even said it, so it's not like, it's a conspiracy theory or some nonsense like that. I mean, Mr. Raider said it. And Jerry Rice talks about it, but he's more roundabout. Tim Brown just comes out and says, yeah, I think he threw the game for him. I don't give a shit. I'll say what I want. It cost Tim Brown a Super Bowl, to be honest with you. I think we were the better team, but when you can telegraph plays and change the game plan to passing instead of run the ball down their throat, all the Tampa guys said they knew all the plays coming. You're gonna go up against your former coach who coached the year before, and you're not gonna change any plays? Really? A little suspicious. Hefe says Al skipping out on paying bills probably didn't help. Are you talking about Ratface Shanahan not getting his money? Screw him. That guy's a punk. I got no sympathy for him. Mike Shanahan, he's a piece of trash. Don't want to talk about him. Al wanted to move the team to LA before this and get a new stadium, and the NFL blocked him at every cause. They didn't invite him into the whole thing with the AFL, and he was the AFL commissioner. He was not invited. They kind of did an end around with Lamar Hunt, your buddy, old owner of the Chiefs, where they absorbed the AFL. There's a lot of bad blood between Al and the league, obviously. So, yeah, Lamar Hunt, he's a piece of trash. I had no respect for that guy. It's weird because it's like, it's weird because like it's amazing because like the owner, the bad blood and the rivalries of some of these franchises, they're in the same division, and it's not just the players, right? It's the fans. They hate each other, and then you got the owner, the coaching, the ownership, it's amazing. So, I'm happy for the Kool-Aid man. He finally got a Super Bowl, but I mean, he was pretty much known as a choker with Philly. So Hunt's an oil tycoon, yeah. Mr. Dallas Texans, woo! Should have stayed in Dallas. The bums. All right. Does anybody else have anything to say? I think we've been on over an hour now. So I will say this. If anybody else has anything to say, I'll say I'll be putting out a game preview sometime this week for the Chiefs game. Obviously, we will be going live at halftime. Like I said before, it's a 5:20 start, so I'm going to probably set it at about 6:50. If it's a little bit before or a little after, I'll come on whenever halftime comes on. Hefe, you're invited to if you want to. But you better come on Monday, win, lose, or draw. So, George Gagosian, hey, welcome. He had a question. So, any other wide receivers we could sign? I would say no. I think Deshaun was the best bet, especially at this time of the year. I don't see anybody else, to be honest with you. Hey, Earth Daughter, how you doing? You are late. You better have a note. Sandy B says, you mean like go Army beat Navy coming for you? Well, I don't know. I'd have to see if Navy's gotten a quarterback yet. They didn't have one before last year, so if they don't have a quarterback, they're not going to win. I mean, that game was pretty ugly, though. Can't really brag on that. Both teams didn't look very good last year, so it's like one of the we won 3-0, yay! You suck too. We just suck a little more. Hey, I saw a note for Earth Daughter. Good job. Hefe says Raiders never trade for a player. That's crazy. First place and no trades. Oh, you mean this year? I mean, we traded for Santonio, and we traded for Antonio, and that sucked. We've traded for players, not major players, so. But yeah, I think we need to target Devontae Adams this year, this offseason. It's especially with Ruggs. I mean, we need a wide receiver one. And we need more young talent on the defensive side. We need to focus on the defense in the draft. I would like to see Alex Leatherwood be at right tackle. That's why we drafted him 17th overall. That would be nice. Or is that another bust pick by this regime? You let me know. Raider Wolf says, yes, we really need to get aggressive trying to get Devontae Adams. He's got history and chemistry with Derek Carr. Yep, Fresno State. His buddy. So, all right. Anybody have anything else you want to say before we kind of close this one out here? If you want to talk, you have any questions, put them on here. Be very interesting to see how this game shakes out, to be honest with you. How Carr bounces back. I don't think we're going to play as bad as we did. We're going to be at home. This is a division rivalry. It's in prime time. I think you're going to see the best of both teams, and I think it's going to come down to maybe a field goal, or it's going to be close. It's going to be really close. It's going to be a good game. I do appreciate you guys coming out. Again, we're going to be going live at about 5:20 start, so about 6:50 I'll set it. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell with the all notification. Otherwise, you might not get my notifications for going live on the live streams. And then when you see it on there, put the set reminder. It'll pop up for you. You got to do that. Thank you guys for coming out. And as always, go Raiders.
Ask you something. With all the distractions that you have off the field, how are you able to keep focused on winning football games as you do and do throughout the years?
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.